Suicide Prevention Megathread. A person from my past reaching out to me, even for 5 minutes, does exceptionally more for my mental well-being than seeing 10,000 Redditors spam the numbers for different suicide prevention hotlines. Please reach out to the people in your life. You can keep it as light as you want. We're social creatures, and even limited interaction goes a very long way. I'm the mother of a toddler who died of cancer. There is nothing anyone could do to prevent me from killing myself besides listening and being present. I didn't reach out to anyone. Being suicidal means you want to die. No one could have talked me out of it. My family knew I was struggling and they took shifts watching me. They bought me my favorite foods, watched RuPaul's Drag Race with me for weeks, seriously. For some reason it was the only thing I could watch. They listened to me cry and didn't try to give me solutions. They just said I know. We had a code word potato. If I said potato, that meant that I needed someone to be physically present with me. Quickly. There was always a plan for the next day. Tomorrow we're going to have lunch at that Mexican place, okay? Tomorrow let's look for a special garden marker for Miles. I think that was a big part of it. Having a plan for the next day meant I had to keep going. It's been almost 4 months since my 3-year-old died and I'm still living. That's pretty ducking amazing. My mom killed herself on April 22nd of this year. My dad found her naked, fallen off the side of the bed, with 3 empty pill bottles, 2 knives, and a razor. She was covered in vomit. The ambulance came, but she was unresponsive. They waited until I arrived to ask if they could stop resuscitation attempts, which they tried to do for over an hour. We went in when they stopped. She was half covered with a sheet, there was a lot of blood and vomit. Her ribs were broken from resuscitation attempts. She was just gone. My dad and I are totally lost. Last December I checked into a psych ward instead of killing myself. Depression. I attempted suicide at 19. I think the hardest thing for non-suicidal people to understand is that a lot of suicidal people don't want to kill themselves, they just want to stop existing. Actually going through the steps of writing a note and taking the pills was extremely difficult, and all I kept thinking the whole time was that it would be so much easier if I could just fall asleep and never wake up. It was scary to think that I was potentially killing myself, whereas a death I couldn't control or had less control over would just happen. Then there's everyone and everything else to consider. I also have caught myself wishing many times that the whole world would end so that I could stop existing, but then neither myself nor my loved ones would have to deal with the pain or miss out on a good life. I found those things really hard to articulate at 19. It's how a lot of depressed people feel. I wish this was up last week. A very close friend of mine committed suicide in the second. She was only 19 and could light up a room when she came in. The worst thing is feeling like I could have stopped her. After work the day before she asked me if I wanted to go out. I didn't because I was tired and had to clean. My heart hurts. Her memorial was yesterday. It's still such a raw wound. I'm sorry I had to get this off my chest. Edit. Thank you all who've messaged me or replied with support in their own experiences. I know logically it wasn't my fault, but emotionally it hurts. I'm slowly starting to accept what happened, but it will be a while before I'll be back to normal. Also to the asshat that messaged me and told me it was my fault, go duck yourself. By the way, I wish there was a suicide chat line and not a hotline. I don't like speaking out loud to a person about any issues I might be having. I'm now 2 for 2 in suicide attempts being stopped by my cat. Just her staring and meowing. Always have something or someone nearby that might just save you. Bourdain's death really bothers me for a specific reason. I think, like many people my age, I struggle with trying to find a vocation that gives me happiness. We're millennials, and we were raised with the idea that we could do whatever we wanted. So when reality hit like a truck, and we found ourselves working the same boring job that 37 of us were going to get, we found ourselves perpetually unsatisfied with our lives. That's why so many of us struggle with depression. What I hear often is that the true way to happiness is to explore the world, to see culture, to meet people, and to grow that way as a person. That was literally Anthony Bourdain's job. He got paid millions to travel the world, to see culture, to meet people, and to grow. And he killed himself. So what hope does that give to the rest of us? I work at Poison Control. One of our main jobs is to provide advice to hospitals caring for patients who have overdosed. I will never forget one teenage girl who took an overdose of Tylenol, and apparently regretted it shortly afterwards but was afraid of telling anyone. She didn't tell anyone until 3 days later. She walked into the ER awake and talking and died waiting for a liver transplant. She left behind a heartbroken family and more friends than she realized she had. If you come to the hospital within a few hours of taking pills, it can be fixed. Don't be afraid to get the help you need. When I was a teenager, I had bad problems with depression and anxiety that led to very self-destructive behavior. There were many times I imagined killing myself, and one night I was set on doing it. Came home drunk and sat and started cutting myself, which was one of my methods for dealing with my emotions. I sat on my bed crying, trying to find the courage to cut deeper and end it. Then my dog Snoopy hopped up on the bed and put his head on my lap. Thanks to him I realized that I just couldn't do that to him or to my parents and friends. He saved my life that night. The next day I decided to open up to my parents and ask them to help me find some help, which was a huge step forward. Sometimes all it takes is a reminder that someone loves you to help you start trying to love yourself. I was suicidal about 6 months ago after my girlfriend, lifelong best friend, left me. I decided I finally needed help. I knew I had deep issues but didn't want to deal with them. I always masked them and found ways to distract myself. I went to my family doctor and got referred to a psychiatrist, and I've been seeing a few for the last couple months. I feel very proud to say that this week has been my first week in years that I can say I've been genuinely happy and proud of myself. It gets better. It genuinely does. Even when you're in the deepest hole. But you can't do it alone. You can't just cover over your issues. You need to destroy them. In Canada, you can get referred to therapists for free by your family doctor. It takes a long time, but the wait is worth it. In the meantime, tell your friends. If they're your true friends, they'll understand. And, if you're like me, you'll find out that they're going through the same thing. Edit. Wow, didn't expect such a huge response. I didn't even expect anybody to see this. Thank you everybody for the kind words. Unfortunately, not everything works for everybody. I also have no idea how things work in the US. If somebody has gotten help in the States, please respond to a few comments below. Edit 2, thanks for the gold. Also, it appears that some places in Canada you do not get free therapists. Hopefully it'll be easier for everybody one day. I called my doctor today. Time to get this shit sorted out. Should add that this isn't as huge and sudden as it sounds. Been living with this for more than 10 years, and I've been back on medication for a few months now after a full year off them. But things like Bourdain's suicide, and Scott Hutchison's in particular, which really punched me in the gut, are a reminder that I need to take this more seriously instead of just munching the pills and hoping it'll go away again. Thank you for the supportive messages though. You'd be surprised how much of a difference they sometimes make. This will get buried, but until just recently my major depressive disorder was in remission. Something happened about 2 months ago that turned my life upside down, and as a result, I've recently been struggling with suicidal thoughts. They've been escalating, inch by inch. I read through maybe 30 responses on this thread and am nearly in tears at my desk. I needed to be reminded that I am not alone and that the metaphorical demon that is depression haunts so many people on this earth. I cannot give up or give in. I needed this today to motivate me to stay the course. I beat this once, I can do it again. One of my favorite quotes is by Winston Churchill, "When you're going through hell, keep going." Thank you to everyone contributing to this thread. What sucks a lot for non-celebrities and poorer people is the cost of therapy. I don't currently have insurance, and while I know I should go see a therapist about stuff, I can't afford it. I'm sure other people are in that boat. For me it isn't so bad these days because I ended up meeting an awesome guy and getting engaged, but I've had a lot of extremely low points in my life where I could have used professional help.